Right now, we go deep on the all-new 2021 Polaris RZR Pro XP Ultimate with two-time off-road champion Corbin Leverton at the wheel. Strap in and hang on. This is a UTV Underground shakedown. Alright, so here's the quick 2-minute history lesson on the RZR. 13 years ago, Polaris did something that no one expected them to do. They introduced a variation on the wildly successful Ranger utility vehicle called the Ranger RZR. They did this to add a sport model variation to the Ranger lineup, but quickly realized that they had birthed an entirely new category of side-by-side, the sport UTV. Well, almost. There were some previous stabs at sport UTVs by major OEMs like Honda with the Odyssey and later the Pilot. And incidentally, that led to Class 34 and 44 in Score off-road desert racing and the Mickey Thompson series. But when Polaris launched the first RZR in 2008, they really planted the seed for where we are today. That first car ran a 760cc motor with 52 horsepower. Less than a quarter of the power that most UTVs come standard with today. But it was the blueprint for an evolution that has now spanned over a decade of engineering excellence. Here's a quick snapshot of the RZR lineage, which is really impressive when you look at how far they have come in such a short period of time. Within a few years of the 2008 debut, Polaris was already making big improvements on power with the XP model in 2011. Then in 2012, they extended the line with the introduction of the smaller 570. By model year 2014, the RZR had advanced enough that it was picked to be the centerpiece of a 4-year viral video dynasty dubbed XP1K featuring RJ Anderson. And by 2016, Polaris introduced the first turbocharged model. 2 years later, they came out with the Turbo S, which was an absolute game changer in terms of its strength and size, as well as the dynamic suspension system and the single-seat RS1. And finally, for 2020, they once again expanded the RZR line with the Pro XP series and revealed the second generation of the dynamic suspension system. So that is how we got here. Nearly a decade and a half of innovation, testing, manufacturing excellence, and yeah, some bumps in the road. But if you walk into any Polaris dealership today, you can still pick up a RZR 170 for the kids, a 50-inch 570 for the older kids, 3 versions of the 900, and one 60-inch 900S. There's an S1000, single-seat RS1, 2 versions of the XP1000, a well-equipped 64-inch RZR XP Turbo, and now 3 iterations of the RZR Pro XP line. And that's not even counting the special editions and the 4-seat models. That's enough to make your head spin. But at the very, very top, the tippy top of that lineup, is the brand new 2021 Pro XP Ultimate. With the MSRP of $28,499, the Pro XP Ultimate is the most expensive machine in the Polaris arsenal and on the market when compared to other 64-inch machines. The Maverick X3X DS Turbo RR is priced at just over $25K, for example, and has a similar power band. But the Maverick X3 was built and introduced 4+ years ago as a 72-inch machine, whereas the Pro XP was designed from the ground up as a 64-inch rocket. And that makes a world of difference at high speeds in the chop, as you'll see in a few minutes. Okay, let's shake this baby down. This is the 2021 RZR Pro XP, and that means it's year 2 for this model, and technically the 14th model year for the RZR. The RZR Pro XP line was completely new for 2020, and it received rave reviews when it launched, especially in the Midwest because of the more narrow 64-inch stance as opposed to the 72-inch width of the Turbo S, its predecessor. Now, despite the fact that the specs seem the same and the appearance hasn't changed too much, these machines have received some extensive upgrades for 2021. We'll get to those in a second. But in terms of the Pro XP lineup, these turbocharged 181 horsepower machines are available in 3 trim levels: Sport, Premium, and Ultimate. The Sport model is the base. The Premium package adds ride command, Rockford Fosgate audio, LED accent lighting, a 6-point harness system, and a telescoping wheel, while the Ultimate model adds Dynamics 2.0, the computer-controlled suspension system. Back in October, Polaris shipped us a nicely broken in Pro XP Ultimate with about 700 miles on it, in matte titanium metallic. Oh man, we love this color scheme. Though some people griped about the look of this machine when it launched, we have to say it has really grown on us. When you step back and really look at it, it does not feel like it needs a new roll cage right off the bat, and that's a huge change from previous models. That's probably the biggest immediate takeaway. It really looks ready to ride. It sports the same chassis as last year. It's a 96-inch wheelbase, 64-inch width sitting on 30-inch Maxxis Carnivore tires. But somehow, Polaris managed to make their new wheels 18% lighter to improve acceleration and suspension performance, and that's pretty slick. Personally, we're not a fan of the vented doors, but they do complement the line of the machine, and the close-off inserts are only a few $100 for a pair. New this year are door latch bumper updates that prevent the doors from rattling, a plus. The bed box on these machines have come a long way in terms of setup for different boxes and add-ons. There's a forward and rear storage box for this machine that adds a ton of sealed storage for the trail. Definitely worth exploring when you're sorting out the rear end. Polaris also has a spare tire carrier. In fact, there are 20 additional accessories available for Pro XP models, including the rigid chase light with 11 selectable modes and new doors and windshields for more cab options to boost rider comfort. The other notable exterior updates are the material used for the engine intake, which is now blow molded, resulting in improved durability at higher temperatures, increasing the ability to go full throttle for longer, and improved rear shock guards, which now feature sides that index to the shock to help avoid rotation. Finally, the updated rear tender springs last longer and improve suspension performance. Okay, let's take a look at the motor and trans package on this thing. The Pro XP Ultimate has a turbocharged 925cc 4-stroke engine with dual overhead cams and twin cylinders. It's the same tried and true electronic fuel-injected 181 horsepower motor and automatic on-demand all-wheel drive transmission that Polaris has had so much success with for these past few years. Most of the competition in the 64-inch category is at or near 900 to 925cc and 100 to 195 horsepower, but Polaris is less concerned about leading the specs in these categories and more focused than ever on making a more drivable machine. Suffice to say, this vehicle has a massive amount of power and is incredibly responsive. On the suspension side, when we tested the 2020 Pro XP in Las Vegas in the summer of 2019 for its debut, the suspension felt a bit overwhelmed. Now granted, we were two full-grown men slamming through some of the roughest desert in the country, but compared to the Turbo S, we felt that some more work would need to be done to make up for the smaller tire size and the smaller form factor. Well, the Dynamics 2.0 system addresses that and does it very elegantly. The combination of the Fox 2.5 podium live valve shocks with bottom out control and the clearance of the A-arms up front and high clearance radius rods in the back make for 22 inches of usable travel and frankly, just a very smooth ride for this sophomore edition. Okay, so what's going on with the interior of these machines? In a word, comfort. One of the most overlooked and underrated features of any sport UTV is comfort. There was a metric ton of effort put into the Pro XP cockpit, and they improved that even more for 2021. The adjustability of things like the seat, both the slider and the angle adjustment, and the tilt and telescoping steering are the first thing you notice when you sit down. It can be tough to accommodate guys who are pushing 300 pounds and well over 6 feet tall, as well as those half our size, but somehow Polaris has done just that. The overall seat comfort and storage are great. There are nice sight lines, it's really a comfortable steering wheel size, it's just a comfortable car to sit in. A lot of the updates to this machine are evident when sitting in the driver's seat. The Pro XP Premium trim now comes with Ride Command and integrated 7-inch touch display and Rockford Fosgate audio. That used to be standard issue for the Ultimate model only. Speaking of ride command, there are a host of new features with the October update, including some slick Wi-Fi compatibility, group ride messaging, auto volume control, and updated gauge indicators. There are now configurable gauges and a new follow mode function when you're on a group ride. By selecting the leader of a group ride, this new feature allows riders to leave a track on the map that can be followed by others. Now that's not Pro XP or even RZR specific, but it's nice to know that all of this is standard at this price point. On the audio side, the Rockford Fosgate audio system has nearly 3 times the volume output, better bass response, and better sound quality at higher volumes than previous models. But if you really want to go all out, you'll want to pick up the Rockford Stage 4 audio upgrade, which adds a sub and 2 more massive speakers right behind the headrest. And last but not least, all 2021 RZRs now come with a built-in trickle charge port in the dash to make it easy to maintain your battery. We ride our machines constantly, so it isn't much of an issue for us, but for those who take months off at a time due to inclement weather, it's a really nice feature to have. To do a proper shakedown on any vehicle, you really need to ride it for months and months and work with it in a variety of conditions. Or alternatively, you can tap a 2-time off-road champion like Corbin Leverton to drive the hell out of a machine with you for a whole day and really put it through its paces. Corbin wrapped up his 2nd Works Championship recently, and we thought he'd be the perfect person to help us shake down the new Pro XP. We met in Ocotillo, California, and started with some heavy whoops to test the new Dynamics 2.0 suspension, as well as the overall drivability of the machine. We wanted to know right away if the new Dynamics 2.0 suspension system was an improvement over previous years, and in a word, yes, it most definitely is. The Dynamics 2.0 system is phenomenal on the new Pro XPs. I'm a big guy, and I don't like being slammed around in the passenger seat, but in these new machines, the combination of the comfortable seat and harness and suspension feel like the stability of a much wider machine, but with a much more nimble stance. It's an amazing feeling to see the dynamic system firm up the outside shocks in cornering while softening the inside. That not only translates to less body roll, but in the thick chop you can get up on top of the whoops and hold it there faster and longer. Polaris also allows stacking, so if you're braking and cornering, you'll see different settings on the front versus rear and the inside and outside as they stack on top of one another. Overall, the dynamic system is pretty awesome, and it's one of those features that riders of all levels can learn to depend on. We raced down into some of the washes to test the steering and the handling of the machine next, and it's in these conditions you really feel the sweet spot of the wheelbase and turning radius. If the larger 72-inch machines with 32-inch tires or bigger are your thing, God bless you. But for a lot of riders, the more nimble and powerful snappiness of these new Pro XPs is the ticket. We spent hours rocketing around these tight washes, dodging giant boulders, sand piles, and zipping through narrow canyons. The Pro XP has a 6-inch longer wheelbase than an XP Turbo, but because it has a tighter turning radius, you get the better ride comfort of the longer wheelbase. It's even more nimble than previous models and way more nimble than the longer wheelbase competition. The braking on the car was incredible too. We stopped on a dime several times from full speed runs and it never felt like the machine was out of control. Polaris says they have improved the clutch alignment to reduce shift effort, and there were some mods to the air intake to keep things cool as well. We were racing around in 75-degree weather, so we weren't really able to test these machines under hot desert conditions yet. But overheating hasn't been an issue for the Pro XP line thus far. We got a chance to use some of the ride command features, and man, have they come a long way. We loved the digital gauges, and seeing dynamics in action was awesome too. I'm not sure why Polaris can make such a killer 7-inch touchscreen that works with gloves, and Apple can't do that with the iPhone, but we'll take it. We're looking forward to using more of the group ride features in the future as well. So what's the verdict on the new 2020 Pro XP Ultimate? We love it. In fact, it's changed how we feel about the Pro XP platform. We were Turbo S die-hard holdouts last year, even with some of the newer Pro XP features, but between the Dynamics 2.0 and other improvements, it's pretty clear you can one-stop shop with Polaris right now and build an amazing vehicle at a very affordable price. Gone are the days of needing a long travel kit, a new cage, a stereo system, aftermarket cargo cases. It's all right there at the dealer now with plenty of upgrade options as you go. Knowing the guys and gals at Polaris, this is not their last Pro XP update, and we all know something even more exciting is always around the corner. But you can pick up a new Pro XP with the confidence it's going to hold its value for years to come. We're looking forward to driving this new machine for the rest of the season and hope to see you all out there on the trails. Stay safe.